welcome to the first episode of NewsBTC's We Need to CryptoTalk, a show in which we invite seasoned and upcoming talents of Bitcoin and blockchain industry and discuss the enormous possibilities decentralized tools can offer to the mankind. I, Yashu Gola, former chief editor of NewsBTC.com, am fortunate enough to speak to our special guest today. His introduction is Ken Anderson, the CTO of an upcoming crypto messenger platform called Mingo. So without further ado, let's begin.
Hello, Ken.
Hello, Yashu. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine, and thank you very much for joining us at a crypto show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this.
Yeah, I know I've been taking so much of your time lately seeking this interview, and finally you have given me this time, so thank you very much for that as well.
It's been crazy, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, without further ado, I really would like to ask you some general question about your upcoming project, Mingo.
Yep.
I would like to first tell you that I haven't read much about it. I just have a very small info in my head that it's a messenger app. And ever since I've been comparing it with the messenger app of Facebook. And there were some ICOs later on that also featured this service that, they will facilitate messaging with the crypto payments. So my first question would be that how Mingo is like completely different from that.
So there's a couple ways that it's different. So first of all, we kind of have to take a step back and look at the motivation behind Mingo. When we as a team got together, we were trying to figure out why it was so hard for people to get involved in the crypto space. Mm-hmm. And really, if you think back to the first time that you set up your first wallet and went to an exchange and put some money onto it and then transacted your first transaction over your wallet, there was a lot of risk there. There was a lot of concern about where your money was going. So you always start with a little bit of money. It was just a very scary process that took a little bit of money and you just kind of had to risk it. And if you messed up, say, for example, you deleted your wallet, you were just out that money. And so there's a lot of risk involved in getting started into cryptocurrency. There's a lot of fear about what's going to happen to my money coming into cryptocurrency. And so that's why we see that like 99% of the world plus are not involved in cryptocurrency because of that fear of getting involved. And a lot of people just don't understand it. And it's a very basic concept, and I'm not going to go into like what cryptocurrency is in this call because that's for another show for you. But what we were thinking is how do we get those 99% onto cryptocurrency? And the only way to do that is through some type of learning platform, something that is low risk, that's comfortable and familiar to them. We thought, okay, cool. So we want to teach people how to use cryptocurrency. We want to take the risk out of it. How do we do that? Well, first and foremost, we have to have an interface that people are comfortable with already. And that's where messaging comes in. Then we had to ask ourselves kind of the same question you just asked us, which is, okay, that's cool. If we build a messenger that teaches people how to use cryptocurrency, what makes our messenger any more special than any other messenger, other than it teaches you cryptocurrency? But other than that, what's the value of the messenger? And then we came to the realization that, even right now, I have to flip between apps, between WhatsApp and Telegram and Skype and everything to answer questions from a bunch of different people. And the question came back, well, why can't we just merge this all together and say, for example, I have Yashu on Skype and Telegram and WhatsApp. Why couldn't I just link all those accounts together in one app and then I can just see one feed for all of our messages? So if you send me a message over Skype or WhatsApp or Telegram, I see it all in one place from one person. And we thought, wow, that's a really cool idea because it now takes all of the different messaging platforms and brings it into one. Now, right now, we've got 7 messaging platforms in there, and we're going to be adding a whole bunch more. But the idea is we really want to be people-oriented. We really want to be contact-oriented. So there's a few parts to it. I mean, the messaging part is basically the idea is how do we get to people with something that has value on its own without getting into the cryptocurrency space, something that people will use and will find value in. And it's it's what we call the multi-channel messaging app. And then once they're into the messaging app and they feel comfortable, we kind of integrate a kind of gamified learning experience of cryptocurrency on top of that. So for example, probably the best way to do it is just to give you an example. If you download the app, you go in and it says, all right, cool, here are the 7 channels that we support. I'm going to connect up Facebook, Twitter, Slack, a few other ones, Skype, a handful of other ones, Telegram. I'm going to link up all my friends, and then the app pops up and says, great, you've set up your messenger. By the way, here's 10 MingoCoin. Share that with 10 of your friends, and all you have to do is go into your message and hit send MingoCoin. Send 1 MingoCoin to 10 of your friends, and when they've accepted that MingoCoin, you're going to get rewarded with 20 MingoCoin. And now you've got 20 MingoCoin in your wallet. So it's part of that gamification user reward mechanism, and it incentivizes them to take each little step learning about cryptocurrency. So that's your first experience is log in, here's 10. Congratulations, you now have cryptocurrency. Whoa, how did I get this? I just installed a messaging app. Share these 10 with your friends. Okay, I'm going to share with my friends. Congratulations, you just finished your first 10 cryptocurrency transactions. Here's 20 more cryptocurrency. And so they're going to start to feel less risk about it, less fear about it. We've taken the risk out because we have a user reward budget that's set up just to facilitate that. We've got a mechanism for ensuring that those coins are there. But that's kind of the first thing. And then we're going to go much more advanced in the curriculum of cryptocurrency, getting people comfortable with other cryptocurrencies, understanding what proof of stake is versus proof of work, and understanding wallet addresses, and all these things that we want to teach people little by little through this app. So that's really what it is. It's first and foremost, it's an education platform. It's a learning platform for cryptocurrency. But instead of us just saying, hey, we're going to build a Duolingo for cryptocurrency,
Right.
Not everybody's going to want to even get involved with that. Let's build something that has inherent value that they're going to use day to day anyway, and just kind of sneak in the learning on the cryptocurrency. And that's where the messenger comes in. And MingoCoin becomes that value that takes the risk out, that allows them to practice basically with cryptocurrency without risking their own money.
Well, that's very elaborative, really. But my question, the next question would be that MingoCoin, you mentioned MingoCoin in such a manner that it's a very harmless cryptocurrency. So, but we cannot ignore the fact that cryptocurrencies are inherently volatile. They are an asset, they are used to trade. Yep. And people are mostly, speculating on it. They want to make some money out of it, and that's why they hold it, that's why they invest it, that's why they spend it. And so even if I speak about that regards, even if a seasoned investor would like to get into the MingoCoin space, how do you propose this plan to him as well? And first thing first, that how do you define the value of MingoCoin as a whole? What is the value of MingoCoin? Does it hold any value at all?
Yes. So right now we're pegging it to Ether, right? So we're saying 5,000 MingoCoin to 1 Ether, but that's basically an arbitrary value, right? We have defined that value. We've set budgets around that value so that we know how much goes into the user rewards program. But what we've basically done is we calculated it down to saying, it's going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 cents is the cost of engaging and encouraging behavior of people. And you think about the cost of advertising, for example, advertising is much more expensive than that. So we've really thought about, okay, how can this be used to incentivize good behaviors, and kind of built our value around incentivizing behavior. And we're kind of proving that concept with the learning platform, and also teaching people and bringing them into the platform. Now, as far as how we build value, so after we go through the ICO, and now people are speculators, for example, we're talking about investors here. Our strategy is, between our pre-sale and our ICO, we're working on getting coordinated with some exchanges. We're going to start out probably with a couple of small exchanges and work towards getting onto some of the bigger exchanges. Also, we're working right now with strategic partners as far as bringing on merchants, in which there can be a B2C relationship, a business to consumer relationship through the Mingo app. And we've already got one that has already agreed to participate in that. And now what's going to happen is you're going to create this ecosystem where users who are not involved in trading need to buy MingoCoin from somewhere. And this is where we can kind of have, that gives incentive for the MingoCoin to be integrated with the exchanges, and for people to start consuming and trading on the exchanges in order to get the users access to these MingoCoin that they need to buy in order to pay their providers.
You mentioned, you mentioned MingoCoin. And it is very general that we'll have to go outside the scope of your app to purchase or sell this cryptocurrency. Otherwise, you will be rewarding us. But the existing framework of Apple Store say that you cannot have such applications listed on in the Apple Store. And so don't you think you will be treated with much rudeness from them if you try to include a value-carrying asset, which is not a fiat currency, by the way? How do you plan to tackle that as well?
Yeah, so there's a few different answers to that. The first position is, how do I get MingoCoin as a speculator, as an investor, is what you said. Right now we've got the pre-sale going, and then we're going to have the ICO coming in a few months. That's going to be 70% of our coin. Now the question you have is, are we going to be having an exchange in our app because of Apple's regulations, their kind of self-regulation of exchanges in the Apple ecosystem? The answer to that is no, we don't plan to have an exchange in the app. People are going to have to leave the app to participate in the exchange. But that doesn't mean that we can't have some mechanism on a web base that's not in the app that helps coordinate that. Now, the next question, the next answer probably is a little bit more interesting. And that is, what if we could create a mechanism where we didn't need an exchange? For example, a cross-currency network. And that's where we're working with something called the Interledger protocol. It's called Interledger protocol, and it's kind of backed by the Ripple community. Right. They're out of the Bay Area as well. We're here in California, and I'm just a couple hours away from them, and I've already had some conversations with the team, and we're going to be contributing to that protocol as well. But that whole protocol facilitates cross-currency transactions, whether it's fiat currency or cryptocurrency. But the trick is there has to be some type of liquidity in between these transacting parties. And so that's what we really want to work on, is as opposed to working through an exchange, which, as you said, can be very volatile because people are trading on spec as opposed to trading on value. That's where the Interledger protocol becomes really important. Now, it's still, it's fairly well developed as far as architecture. They've already got some prototypes and proof of concepts going. We're hoping to be one of the first major players to really incorporate them to the heart of our application. The trick there is growing that network of liquidity connections there, right?
Right.
And so that's what we're going to be focused on. A lot of our effort is in doing that. In the short term, we have things like Shapeshift, where you can convert from one currency to another and then transact across that, which we may end up having to do that in the short run. We've got external exchanges, which we may have to integrate with those in the short run. But in the long run, our strategy is, how do we set it up so that you've got Jax and you only collect Bitcoin, and I've got MingoCoin and I'm in the MingoWallet, and I want to send you money via the messenger. I shouldn't have to think about how do I convert that money, because that's a whole process in itself. Is you got to convert it, make sure it gets to the right wallet, and then send it from wallet to wallet. So it's kind of a pain to do it anyway. Our goal is to take all of that complexity out of it, and right now the strategy is to do that with the Interledger protocol.
Well, that is a very important news anyway, because I was not expecting Ripple to be the part of this entire process, and that is quite an interesting model, you must say. But again, there's one thing about the ICO thing that is being plaguing the minds of many startups lately. Because you have launched an ICO, you have a very interesting product in hand that is very sure, and I'm sure that you plan to deliver on it. That you don't want to turn out to be a vaporware. That is a little trust.
Right.
But regulations already are coming in. China is already speaking really bad things about the ICO, and it is sending shivers down the people. The very same people you're trying to address. The very same people you're trying to say that crypto is a very good world. You just come to it. So how do you plan to create that positive vibe, that environment for people in the current climate?
Yeah,
that is a very off-guard question. I really can say that, but
no, that's perfect, because we've been having this discussion internally, especially with September 9th, when China came out with its official ban of the exchanges. So we've been dealing with ourselves, and what was interesting is China was a major market for us because we had a lot of contacts in China. So here's the thing. Let me make it really clear. First of all, Mingo is an Irish product. Its headquarters is in Ireland. It's a European company. I'm participating as a CTO. I live in the U.S., but the company is out of Ireland. We are not fundraising in the U.S., and we are not fundraising in China for the pre-sale. Between the pre-sale and the ICO, though, we're going to be really seeking out ways to do it appropriately. And there are a lot of different ways to do it. Even in the U.S., we just have to register as security and make sure that we accept only approved investors. So there are things we can do in the U.S. to open up in the U.S. Still makes it a little difficult in China because of ICOs and the exchanges. The other thing to remember is that the app itself can still be used in China. It's not. It's just the fundraising part of it and the exchanging part that right now is really restricted in China. And quite frankly, fair enough. The industry has been full of a bunch of vaporware and a bunch of people that are really just scamming investors. And these countries are trying to protect their consumers, right? So I have nothing against China or the U.S. putting up the regulations they have. Things just need to calm down a little bit.
Right.
But we can see that a lot of that calming down is happening right now. I mean, in Canada right now, we've got some calming down where cryptocurrency is becoming more mainstream and accepted. Russia publicly announced their acceptance of cryptocurrency, so they're really strongly getting behind it.
Right.
Europe's been pretty open about it, and they published their stuff on it a few months ago. So there's a lot of positive momentum, as much as we see like the shock of the news from China and the U.S. SEC. Keep in mind the SEC, they just put out some guidelines basically of what qualifies as a security and what doesn't, and there's still some gray area in there that hasn't been worked out, and there are still ICOs trying to run in the U.S. under a crowdfunding umbrella and not as a security.
Right.
So there's still some things to mature there, and this is just going to happen in any financial industry. Anytime you get into fintech, you're going to deal with lots of this kind of frothiness, if you will, that just has to simmer down. And we're just going through that cycle right now with regulatory agencies. I don't see it as a big threat. Cryptocurrency isn't going to go anywhere. Distributed ledger technology is not going anywhere. The question is, how do we do it in a way that the regulatory agencies are comfortable with it? We're seeing Canada's getting comfortable with it. Europe's comfortable with it. Russia's comfortable with it. China obviously has a little bit of work to do before they're comfortable with it. And they might have ulterior motives. We don't know. The U.S. is okay with it as long as we're protecting the consumers. And so we just have to work with them to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's safe for consumers in the United States. So I'm not afraid of any of those. As a matter of fact, anytime those announcements come up, that's actually a good thing for us, because what that means is that we're weeding out a lot of the fake people. And we're kind of like...
A ban is not a good thing, but a ban is simply, restriction or something, that was going to be innovative.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, you were talking about China.
Yeah, China. Yeah.
With China. Yeah. A ban's never a good thing, because now you're decreasing the volume that's in the market altogether, the activity that's in the market. You're right. But overall, the activity that's going on is really, and I'm hoping China falls in line with this as well. I don't know for sure what their motives are, but hopefully the idea is that everything starts to regulate and simmer down, and maybe it'll self-regulate, but there's going to be a lot of negotiations across the table. If you've watched any of the hearings in the U.S. with the SEC over cryptocurrency,
right.
A lot of these things are going on. We're figuring out our place in the world. But again, this is the perfect time for something like Mingo to come in and really help people understand this. Because if I'm a consumer and I've never dealt with cryptocurrency, and my only experience with cryptocurrency is China's banning it and the U.S. won't let you raise funds, and that's all I ever hear about. And the president of some investment fund is coming out and calling Bitcoin a fraud. If that's all I hear, then obviously my experience is going to be bad. But people who get into it and start to really understand it, when I first started understanding this, just a few years ago, cryptocurrency has only really been a practical thing for just a few years. But when I got involved a few years ago, I went and read Satoshi's paper, and I just walked through that, and I was just amazed at how resilient the blockchain was, and how brilliant it was. And so I just thought, wow, we've got a lot of maturing still to do on the technology side. We've got a lot of maturing to do on the regulatory side. But I think Mingo can be that voice of calm in this storm to all the people out there who have no idea about cryptocurrency. And hey, what better way to say it to your friends? If you try to go to your friends who don't do cryptocurrency and say, hey, you got to buy a position in Bitcoin or Ether or something, they're going to be like, no, we're not interested. That's too scary. But if you say, hey, go download this messaging app and play with it and learn cryptocurrency over the next couple of weeks without any risk, they're going to come back and go, okay, at least I have a better understanding of what we're talking about. And hopefully that's what Mingo will become, is kind of that voice of calm.
Well, when you mentioned that when you go to your friends and ask them to buy cryptocurrencies, I can relate to that. And I'm sure anybody who's watching it will relate to that. When we try to convert somebody into being a crypto guy.
I have lots of friends that I go to and I say, you need to get in on this now, because it's both good and bad. With the volatility, there's a lot of opportunity here.
I've been telling it to my own father from last 3 or 4 years. He doesn't invest. And I think I'll ask him to download your app for a change.
That would be perfect. All right, we got one user.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm just going to tell him that, just download when this app's come, and it will going to teach you a lot of things about MingoCoin. But
absolutely,
I have just one question left, and I think that will also help my dad understand the security aspect of this platform again, that you are holding an ICO of its own, and you have spoken about self-regulation in your recent lines. how are you regulating your own ICO so that it remains, safe from all the bad things that happen to the ICOs generally? We have heard about
Yeah.
the recent hacks in the Ethereum field itself, and then there is a very strong possibility of investors getting scammed.
Right.
I just want you to know your approach and how do you safeguard your investors?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So some of those are technical answers, and some of those are more social answers. So I'll just take a few of the vectors of concern that we have right now and address those. So first and foremost, our pre-sale is designed to help fund a lot of the legal and security review and audit that we're going to do in preparation for the ICO. So during the pre-sale, the smart contracts we're going to use. So let's talk a little bit about the technical vulnerability. The recent vulnerabilities you've seen, like with the DAO and stuff, those were quite literally coding errors in the smart contract.
Indeed.
It's not a fault of the blockchain. It's not a fault of the smart contract mechanism, but it was the fault of the coder who wrote the contract. So for the pre-sale, we've been very careful. We went and used the Zeppelin Solidity contract. You can go look it up in GitHub and see the variations of it. Even our own contract is up on GitHub, so that you can view our pre-sale smart contracts for both the tokens and the crowd sale mechanism. So what we're doing is, what I'm basically saying is, for the pre-sale, we're being very safe about what contracts we use and what mechanisms we build into our pre-sale. By using things that are proven, that are standard, we're not deviating from anything that is just really common, has been proven out. So we're being very careful about that. We've got a period of time between the pre-sale and the ICO. And during that period of time, we are going to have to create a more complex smart contract for the ICO, just because of some of the mechanisms we're going to build into both the token and the ICO contract itself. We've got some time to work on it. We've got, from the pre-sale, the goal is to take a portion of that budget and put it towards security audits, so we can have third-party companies come out and evaluate our contracts. We're also going to be posting all of our contracts on GitHub, so that everybody can evaluate it and give us feedback. And if there needs to be a pull request, we'll evaluate the pull requests and participate in that. We also want to take whatever we build as our smart contract and contribute it back to the community. So if that means that there's maybe a bigger project that is collecting these contracts, we would like to participate in those as well. So that's from the technical perspective. Kind of a business decision perspective of how to protect funds. A lot of concerns people have is whales coming in early, clearing out the pre-sale or the ICO, and then the next day dumping it, and the value goes into the dumps, and everybody loses all their value. So what we've done right now, and we've got some work to do on it, which we need to do between the pre-sale and the ICO period. But right now, our guideline is that we're going to put a vesting period on there. So anybody that participates in the ICO, we're going to have a 3-month vesting period for 50%, and then 3 more months to get the other 50%. And this should prevent immediate dumping. So it'll allow people to actually hold on to their MingoCoin for a little bit. It'll also allow the economy to kind of catch up, because as soon as we launch the ICO, we're going to be launching a version of our app. And we want users who are using our app to be able to use their currency, use their MingoCoin, without being inhibited by a sudden drop in the value.
Right.
So we're going to create kind of a ramp up in the value of the coin inherently through that 3-month period of the app being used by native users. And those who invested and participated in that just have to wait 3 months. But at that 3-month mark, we'll have that 50% vesting, and then another 3 months, another 50% vesting. So that's how we're going to kind of at least mitigate the dumping problem, the pump and dump problem that we see. Now there's another part of it, which is the social side of it, which is the scamming part. And this is one that we're already dealing with, even in our pre-sale. I mean, we're not even a week away from our launch of the pre-sale, and we've got people hopping into Slack and Telegram and private messaging all of our members saying, hey, we've got a special, 40% off the published price Mingo contract if you get started right now and send money to this address. We've got a really strong community, I got to tell you. We've got a great community, and we've got a comms team that is 24/7. And I'll tell you what, I'm part of the comms team too. So if you're messaging in Telegram or messaging in Slack, I'll be in there for a port. We've got 5 or 6 people on the comms team right now, and we're rotating every day, so we're available 24/7. Anytime somebody reports, any one of us could ban, And so that's what we've had to do, is we've had to catch a lot of people and ban them. We've been posting comments regularly. But to be really clear, and I hope this gets out on your message as well, we're going to be doing a live stream of our launch. Okay. And we're going to have our smart contract address up on the live stream. And you're going to want to check the website. The website is the source of the contract address. And we're telling everybody, don't contribute to any address other than what is on our official website, which is MingoCoin.com. And then during the pre-sale, if you want that extra sense of security, watch our live stream and you'll see the contract address there, and you can confirm that against the website, just so that you're absolutely sure that you're getting the right contract address to contribute to. So we understand that there's going to be some social hacks, there's going to be some technical attempts, but this pre-sale is really, we wanted to do it really safe, put a lot of manual effort into preventing a lot of the social components. But from a technical side, we're just using very standardized contracts to keep it safe. And then we've got a period between the pre-sale and the ICO where we're going to put a lot of technical effort into the security auditing to ensure that we're ready to go on the ICO side.
Well, that's great. And, it was really an elaborative and very clear answer, I must say. And remind me when I have to retweet you about that Ethereum contract address. Just need to make sure that we distribute the right address. And that's also the side, of course. So the last question is actually not for me. I'm just going to ask you that if you have any message for the viewers who are watching us.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of things. First of all, MingoCoin.com. That's the website. Go to the website. On September 25th at 3 p.m. GMT is when we launch our pre-sale. We will not be announcing our contract any earlier than that time, and it will be announced on the website and via our pre-sale live stream. So everybody can feel safe about that. Join our Slack and Telegram. Ask lots of questions. We've got lots of people in there asking really hard questions. I don't shy away from any hard questions. Some people ask some questions and it might seem like they're a little bit rude, but what they're really doing is they're trying to protect the community. And it comes across as rude sometimes, but I have to just keep my head cool and just take it one question at a time, answer it. Every single person who's come in and asked really hard questions in those communities, we've been able to answer, and they've walked away at least satisfied with our answers. And it's really benefited the community as a whole. So if you want to know more about MingoCoin, join our Telegram group or our Slack group, you can get those at our website. And there you can kind of get a sense of what questions are being asked. You can ask your own questions. But we really want people to participate and be part of it.
Well, it was a great chatting with you, Ken. It was a very nice session, and I really wish you good luck for your coming pre-sale round. And I hope you do wonders in the future, and also China comes to sense and watch you growing up. So that would be all for the day, I believe. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Yashu.
Sure.